Eli and the Golden Caves by Cliff Jones Jr. There are some truths that can't help but ring false, some revelations so unsettling that the only thing to do is laugh them off and just go about your business. People, once they reach a certain age, aren't half so open-minded as they imagine themselves to be. This is why so many fairy stories involve children. I was still a child when my understanding of the world and humanity's place in it was shattered beyond all hope of reconstruction. I accepted this new truth at the time, but the older I get, the more I doubt myself. It would certainly be easier if I could forget the whole thing or make myself believe it was only a dream, but I know it wasn't. It started with me running through the woods. I had no idea where I was headed, just far away from my school. I couldn't go back there. I wasn't even sure I could go home again, not after the mess I'd made. Corporal punishment was still a thing back then, and I'd taken my share of beatings for my smart mouth. But today I'd picked up the paddle first and smacked the principal with it right across his fat face. There was an initial moment of shock when neither of us fully believed what had just happened. But Mr. Ortiz's expression soon changed to righteous indignation and then pure malevolent fury. I could tell that he was about to really let me have it, so I grabbed the first thing off his desk I could use as a weapon, and I struck first. It was some kind of an award, a big bronze globe atop a black pyramidal base. I'll never forget the feeling of that thing colliding with the side of Mr. Ortiz's head. The dull, wet sound it made. I didn't expect it to give way so easily, to collapse like that. Compared to metal, a skull isn't much, I guess. So I ran, and I kept running, long after I probably could have stopped to catch my breath. I felt like there was nothing left for me back home. It was honestly a relief to get away from my parents, my brother, my sisters. I'd always fantasized about running away, and here I was finally doing it. Eventually I came to a creek and decided to rest there a while. The water was flowing at a nice pace, and it looked relatively clean, so I took a drink. No immediate diarrhea, so I figured I'd be all right for a few days. Finding food was harder. It wasn't the right season for blackberries. I didn't know much else about foraging. I spent one hungry night in the dirt using dried leaves as a blanket, and in the morning I took a chance on some mushrooms. They smelled fine, at least, for mushrooms. They didn't taste like much, but I survived to tell the tale, so I guess I chose well. After dark, I found a hollow spot on the creek bank and settled there for the night. I still had no clue what I was going to do next, how I was going to go on with my life. The weight of this finally hit me, and I started sobbing like a little baby. I felt like I was probably going to die out there, and there was nothing I could do about it. I doubted I could find my way back to the school even if I tried. Sometime in the night, I had a creeping sensation that I was being watched. I stopped crying and scanned the darkness all around me for something to confirm my suspicion. After a while, I ventured an unsteady, "Hello?" Then all at once I saw them, two little people, a man and a woman, with pale baby faces and no hair on their disproportionately swollen heads. Their eyes were the strangest part. They were so large and dark that they didn't seem human. I just sat there in silence for a few minutes, paralyzed at the sight of them, until the man spoke up. "Don't be afraid. Follow me." That was all the little man said, but it was enough for me. I walked behind the two of them as they led me into a cave I'd never noticed before. Trying to recall this now, I must have been in some kind of a trance. None of it felt real. I couldn't say how long we walked, but the deeper we went into the cave, the brighter everything got. There was this golden light that seemed to come from the air itself. No shadows anywhere. Eventually, the cave opened up into a cavern so vast that clouds covered its ceiling, looking almost like an open sky. Countryside spread out before me, lush and green as anything on the surface. Finally, I made the connection to where I'd seen creatures like these two before. "Are you aliens?" I asked. The woman who'd been silent so far answered in a foreign language, but somehow I understood her. "No more than you, child. This planet is our home, and we've been here far longer than your kind. We simply avoid the surface because the conditions are harsh and corrupting. If you stay down here with us, you'll see. Death is unnecessary."